Here we go with episode 2 of Orb on the movements of the Earth. Last time we discovered the first main character, Rafal, and his helper, Hubert, who is disclosing in front of Rafal's eyes the heliocentrism. So let's see what happens now, because Rafal is forced to follow Hubert about this, and let's see how his life goes on. Are you ready? Let's watch it together. I imagine that. Okay. Here we go. No, it's pretty courageous instead. Yeah. Mm. At least you tried. Yeah. Exactly. I believe the same. Because you didn't even understand what he says completely, I think. And you're too involved with the concepts you were taught. I think you will come. Even tomorrow you'll be there. In the meantime, think what he said. Yeah. This is the typical attitude. You're moving, you see? Uh, yeah. Exactly. You were moving. Yeah, extend it a little bit. Okay. Of course, it's a blasphemy. Yeah, that's the most perfect symbol. Yeah. Yeah, they move independently. Yeah, but you created a rational way. Nobody expected you to create one. Maybe, yeah. So you went back, Yeah, why you changed your mind? He will not give up that place. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Me neither, sincerely. Yeah. Mm, I stand with the Hubert. Not at all. To me personally, not at all. On the contrary, it's very interesting. Mm, already. You have to decide. In fact, you decide what to do with your life. Yeah. Or at least follow what you like to do and not based on the imposition of the church. Mm. You can if you want. Oh, oh. Oh no, that's the one who was torturing the other heretic. Oh. Trying to escape again. Oh! What the F? Find an excuse now or never. Or you can stand by being courageous about your thoughts. This is very difficult. Oh, that's a Hubert. He came back to save him again. Yeah, yeah, he knows. Yeah. But I think Rafal will find a way to let him escape. What's that? Yeah, but what's that? Oh, okay. I think that, yeah, he wants Rafal to be his descendants, let's say. So it's already good. I mean, even if he goes to prison, he knows that he said already everything he had to say. He died already. I thought for a second that that was an observatory or like a planetarium. Okay, it's from Hubert, right? Wow, so he's gonna obtain all of that. Yes, that's what I told you before. Yep. Yes. In fact, Rafal will discover other things because he's too attracted by this idea now. For the moment, I don't think he will burn them. He burnt them already. He burned them already. I thought that he would have. Ah! Yeah, but the most important thing is that you have it in your mind now. Yeah, but did you read them first? Yeah, but even if you burn them, okay. Oh, see? He's too curious about that. Yeah, yeah. No, now he's calm. No, he's standing up and he will say, "I will study astronomy." Yeah. Yes. Whoa, that was pretty courageous. Oh, as I said, I like Rafal, but I'm scared of these people. These people are the most dangerous. Oh, we understood that. But what did these men do? I mean, why is he attacking him? No F way, the father was killed because, of course, that was his father. I already hate these people. I can't stand them. In fact, that's why he could have had a wife and a daughter. Yeah. Eh, I was about to say. Yeah, the usual reasons. The usual. Take it. Who cares? Look. I imagined that nobody wanted to talk to him. Yep. Look, Rafal, sometimes it's better to be alone than being surrounded by people. Mm. Ah, no! Yeah, okay, but this is true. Huh? This is true. That's why I like him, because he's pretty intelligent. So even he's a father. The first thing that I want to say about Rafal is that he was born in a type of society where if you were judging what the church was saying, as much as I said in the previous episode, you were condemned, you were judged, you were put in jail, and many other things. You were even executed, as we all know. I think that for Rafael at the beginning it was very hard to go against his principles and to try to see the world in a different way. As I told you in the previous episode, I don't think that this story regards just religion versus science. I think that this story can enlighten us to a different perception of everything that we see in our real life too. I mean, it doesn't matter the subject right now. What amazes me the most is that the author is giving you the way of thinking that if you are put in a certain society with lots of rules, lots of laws, lots of concepts, pre-concepts already installed in our brain, it's very hard to detach ourselves from those and try to see the world in a different way, or at least to try to understand or to try to ask ourselves, is what we see the real thing? Or is what we see what other people chose for us to see? That's the most interesting thing. And that's why between the Hubert and the Raphael, there was a great dialogue, because Hubert spent his entire life to go against these preconcepts and try to find something that other people don't believe and fight for it. I really understand Hubert because I also have this kind of principle for my life that is, don't believe exactly what everything is saying, because if you do so, you are forced to believe at the end of the day that what people think is true. But sometimes we need to find our own way to explain things. And even if these things don't match with what's said by others, that's totally fine. It's not the opposite. I mean, it's not something bad. On the contrary, I believe that this is fascinating, that this is very amazing, and it could be useful because most of the times in the societies we live, we have one opinion only, or let's say the most predominant one is one idea, is one belief. But if we try to see things in a different way, maybe things, our perception of things can change. And this is so brilliant. As soon as Hubert was talking to Raphael and explaining him what he believes, Raphael automatically, even if he didn't want to do so, he started to think. And he started to think something that was considered a blasphemy until that moment. But let's say that his reason started something different in his mind, and he can't let it go now because it's too interesting. It's a mystery that he can't solve right now, but just because it's a mystery, it's fascinating and he wants to go on. I think that even in our real life, there are lots of mysteries concerning many different aspects. And there are people who are very interested to keep digging, to investigate, to understand, and to try to disclose a world that it's not the usual that we are told. I really understand Raphael in this moment because an entire new world is disclosing in front of his eyes, something he has never thought about it before, something that he couldn't even believe that it was possible to think about, but that's great. So except for these, I also want to say that Raphael started being courageous because he is stepping on something that is uncertain, that is still unknown. But anyway, what Hubert told him is that even if you're scared, even if you think that it might be dangerous, step on it because these will help you to grow anyway. And even if something is scary to you, you should find the courage inside yourself to try to explore something that other people couldn't, especially because you have a kind of a talent. I mean, Raphael is a pretty intelligent and he should use this intelligence not just for the ordinary life or just to please others. Well, he should please himself first. It's like what we talked about in the previous episode, right? This fear of the pain that other people might receive from others. These fear always stop us because we are always afraid to lose our lives, to say something inconvenient, so then they are going to threaten us, etc., etc. But we shouldn't be afraid of these. And if people try to stop you about certain things or certain ways of thinking, sometimes it means that you're on the right path instead. Of course, at that time, the church was so powerful, and the church tried to silence all the people who couldn't stand what the church was doing or what people was trying to do against the usual preconcepts made by the church. And I admire all these people sincerely because if you become silent, you are complicit and you shouldn't be one. You should stand up for something that they try you to shut up for. This is something that happens even right now with all the wars we have. They try to stop us thinking. They try to shut us up. And this is wrong because people should think, except for what they see in front of their eyes, even when they look at the media or whatever, they should think more. They should start questioning what's seen, as much as in these anime. Everything is said by the church and everything is controlled by the church, but people should go against it somehow and try to create their own vision of the things, try to give their own interpretation based on what they see, or let's question what they see. That's the same thing, you know. So this anime is pretty recent. I mean, what's explained in here, it's useful even nowadays, in the situation we are right now. I really like these type of stories because no matter the fact that here we are in the 15th century, you discover that many things didn't change at all, that we are still, unfortunately, in the same spot no matter the centuries went on. For some reasons, there are some aspects that you find even in the 21st century that are completely the same. And I underline unfortunately, because we should have learned throughout the past events, right? But most of the times we never learn enough to make something different. By the way, yeah, the man, I mean, the Inquisitor with his two helpers, that man scares me. On the contrary, I mean, instead of thinking that heliocentrism can scare people, or can scare the church, or can scare people because something new is happening, or something new, like a new ideology is coming up, yeah, those people scare me the most. Because as you can see, as soon as you do the contrary thing, or as soon as you do something totally different than what the church was saying, you were seeing these men coming and torturing you or killing you. Yeah, so I like even the critics on the church here. That's very evident. How can you establish a church and this church believes in God, and God is this, God is that, etc., etc., and if you go against these principles, you're gonna die for them? That's incoherent, right? I mean, the church is saying that everybody is the son or the daughter of God, right? So if that's the principle, why, if some of these sons or daughters of God think differently, they're gonna be killed? See, this is pure hypocrisy. And that's the critique, the main critique from my perspective in this story. That's just a great propaganda that was spread through the centuries to convince people of one idea, and then this idea, if it's dismantled, it's illogical automatically, without even listening to your explanations of what could be different and what could be interesting. No, automatically this is wrong, you shouldn't think about that, you should think only this and this. That's called the propaganda, right? And unfortunately many people at that time didn't have the chance to think differently, or if they had the chance to do so, they couldn't, because they were forced by impositions to have a certain life, no matter what they were thinking inside their brain. So that's why when I saw Raphael trying to burn Hubert's researches, I was thinking, I hope that he read them already, or that he wants to read them at first, because then you can burn them. Yeah, because everything stays in your mind anyway, so nobody can open your mind and discover what you think, right? That's the beauty of our mind. That's the amazing tool that we have in order to not be convinced specifically by something from others. Our mind can be ruled by ourselves only. So the greatness is that no matter what other people think, then you are going to decide what to assimilate and what to put aside. And that's why I also agree with what Raphael is doing later, because later he's pretending to do certain things in front of others, to please others, to make these people feel confident that Raphael understood, or to make people believe that whatever they say, that's fine because I'm convinced too. On the contrary, Raphael is not listening to those people anymore because he tries now to think by himself, to do his own researches, even if these researches will not be told outside. And that's great. Even if he takes a theology, he can study astronomy by himself and develop other thoughts that other people will never think that he will. And at the end of the episode, we discover that his father had lots of books about astronomy. So even his father probably was trying to do the same as he's doing. That means he had a certain face, a society face, and he had a private face. I think this story is pretty inspirational because even if Hubert died, he said that he completed his work. And that's true because he gave to another person an inspiration. So Raphael right now, he's the descendant, let's say. He has all this heritage from Hubert, and what Hubert did was not wrong at all. What Hubert did was to research a lot, and even if he was dying or he died, he was not afraid of death, because before that, his last mission was to try to find someone who could go ahead with his researches or even do more based on what he was telling him at the beginning. I think this meeting was not useless. Then I agree with what Raphael says when he says that we don't know. I mean, we are uncertain of many things and we don't have a correct and a true explanation for everything. But as I was telling you, the fact that we keep asking ourselves, that's the most important thing. If you keep doubting, if you keep asking yourself, I still believe that that makes you feel alive. And on the contrary, if you just say, yes, yes, okay, yeah, that's how it is for sure, without even questioning yourself, you are already submitted to a pre-ordered society. And that's something that I can't stand, sincerely. I don't know if you have my same opinion, but I prefer to believe that what we are told is just a part of the things. And what we are not told, it's something we should discover. And even if they don't let us do so, at least we should try. Because when we die, we know that at least we tried to do something that was not predicted, or it was not predictable to do, but anyway, we did it. We tried it. So I don't want to follow what we're told just because we're told to do so. And this doesn't mean we are rebellious. This is just a different way to see the world. And this should be like this. So, see, in this story, in these comments that I'm making, I'm not talking about a heliocentrism, even if heliocentrism at that time was a revolution. It was something that could change the world completely, right? But it could be anything. The subject of the discussion could be everything. Could be the wars, could be the genocide that it's happening now. It could be everything. We should be able to reach God. Yes, what Hubert said at the beginning of the episode is totally correct. We have always thought, even centuries ago, of course, that God was in another level, and we could have never reached him because of the ultimate intelligence that he or she or it has. But that's not true. When Hubert said inside this brain, I have my intelligence and I can reach it if I want. Yes, our mind is unlimited if we think about it. Our mind doesn't have a limit. Also because we just know a few percentage of our brain. All the rest is still unknown. So we don't know our real abilities. Nothing or nobody can determine how far our brain can go. And this is already marvelous, because it means that our brain can be our universe, that even our universe is infinite. And we don't know how our intelligence, where it can reach and how it can reach, or where it can reach. This is super amazing. So I totally agree with what Hubert said in this. When he was talking about God ruling on the universe, let's say, he didn't deny the presence of a God. Yeah, in this case, let's say it's not a God, religiously speaking, but it's something else, that it's ruling everything. Yeah, we can think so. Because how can something exist without the something else ruling? Or let's say that something started, but who started it? And what started it? Why it started it? And see, there are so many questions that, of course, we never have an answer, an official answer. But let's keep thinking. Let's give even the new generations something inspirational to think about, and not just the futile things, and not just the foolish things to think about. Let's not give them a preconceived world. Let's give them the wheel of thinking. Let's give them the freedom of thinking. Because if you enclose people to think just what you think, then they will never be free. But freedom consists also not just the physical freedom, but mental freedom. And that's the most important thing. By the way, let's see what Rafael wants to do. We already know that he has these tactics to avoid people's opinions and to avoid problems. That's great. But let's see these researches, how they will go on. Let's see what he can discover. And let's see, after he discovered that all the planets are independent. I mean, they don't follow the specific scheme that the Earth is doing. Everything is not rotating around the Earth based on what I told you before. That means we have always thought to be the main thing here, and with a God who's ruling on us. But when we were thinking of something like this centuries ago, we didn't think, oh wait, but if there are other stars, if there are other planets, why we should be the center of the universe? Why God is looking on us only just because we are special? But why we are special? See, people were not even thinking, or if they thought, they would have never told you out loud. So we will never know how many people question themselves. Just because they didn't speak about these, it doesn't mean they didn't, but they couldn't, let's say, because they were too afraid of express their opinions out loud. Otherwise, they would have been killed. Stay tuned and keep on watching me. Thank you so much for the support, and see you tomorrow with episode 3 of Orb on the movements of the Earth. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.